So the Noyo River Redwoods is a property that is owned by the Mendocino Land Trust. It is 426 acres and located approximately 6 miles west of Willits. Right now we are in the Noyo River. We are at the upper reaches near the headwaters of it. And in 2015, we worked with Fish and Wildlife to fund a restoration project on this part of the Noyo River, where we treated the river with large pieces of wood to create both summer and winter habitat for salmon. And you can see some of the wood behind us that was put into the stream. And the purpose is to create pools, to create complexity, to create cover. These are all really important for salmon in freshwater. At one point, it was believed that all the wood that had accumulated in the stream was actually bad for salmon, so people pulled it out. The stream channels were straight. I like to think of them almost like bowling alleys, and the water would just rush through without, anything to slow it down or to create places where fish and other aquatic species can rest and feed. So now we are putting wood back into the stream. So these pieces of wood change the stream so that it meanders a bit more. It's not such a straight chute.
Right now where I'm standing is the Clarimill Site, and this was the site of rail tie manufacturing back when they were constructing the railroad. The Skunk Train operates on this line, and where we're standing right now is about 30 miles from Fort Bragg, and it used to be the end of the line. Behind me, you can see the winding railroad. The terrain in this area is so steep that to traverse the 1.5 mile length as the crow flies, they had to construct 8 miles of railroad.
We are at the Noyo River Redwoods Trail. You can see the trail behind me. This segment of trail is next to Crowley Meadow, which is a popular stop on the Skunk Train line. Crowley was at one point a logging camp, and it had as many as 1,000 people living there at one point. There are still the historic remains of 4 bunkhouses and a mess hall from the logging camp in the woods behind Crowley Meadow. So the Noyo River Redwoods Trail is a 3-mile loop. It traverses a really fascinating boulder field that's covered in moss. It reminds me in the winter of like a boulder grotto. It also goes through parts of the property that contain mature forests with large redwoods, large Doug-fir. There are a number of meadows where you get a view looking across the Noyo Canyon. It's really stunningly beautiful.
Within the Noyo River Redwoods and along the Skunk Train line, there are many huge old-growth trees, like the one behind me. Redwoods are fire adapted, so as you can see, this one underwent some sort of burn, who knows when, but the tree is still very much alive. The bark is resilient to fire and keeps the tree insulated, and the foliage line is high enough where it doesn't catch. Due to a legacy of fire suppression, fires are burning hotter and more intense, and unfortunately the redwoods are not as adapted to deal with fires like we're seeing today.
So when creating a shaded field break, it's really a 3-part process. We first come in and thin the trees. We space them about 15 to 20 feet apart, and then we limb the ladder fuels to keep the fire from reaching the canopy. And when we are cutting the shaded field break, we are really aiming for about 80% canopy retention, because we want it to be shaded to inhibit extra growth by allowing a lot of light into the understory. And then the last part of that process is to burn all the slash that was generated from thinning and pruning, so that there are no fuels on the ground to feed a fire. So typically when we're planning for shaded field breaks, we are looking for a strategic location to put them. The best place based on how the fire might move across the landscape. So here at the Noyo River Redwoods, we have 4 shaded field breaks, and they're all located on ridges that are roughly running east and west. We're only about 6 miles from Brook Trails, a community outside of Willits, And so it's important to us to manage this property so that wildfires can't gain strength and potentially impact these communities.